Oh, the joys of automobile purchasing.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I am purchasing an automobile.
Quiet.
Which is actually kind of neat.
Yes.
Which variety of automobile will you be purchasing?
It will be a crossover a sports utility vehicle.
Oh, quite.
It's a bloody ute. Not an Australian ute. Although those would be kind of fun to drive in the backwoods somewhere. By the look of them. She's chugger in the ute. But no, it's a Ford Edge at this dealership for a pretty decent.
Ford Edge.
It's black.
It's black?
Out the
It's
edge.
black.
Leather seats, so it'll be out the edge of the vehicle.
They just need a couple red stripes in there.
Yeah, out the edge of the vehicle. Yeah, I thought of that when I was test driving it, and I was like, nice. Out the edge.
This will suit the memes very well.
Yes.
Just blast Evanescence in the speakers as you go down the road.
I mean, I can. It's got a nice sound system.
That's funny.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's yes, it's finally upgrading from the college car, Jack, the 2010 Fusion that has thus far served me well, but currently my little brother is getting ready to go to college and he's driving an absolute rust bucket. So he'll be purchasing this vehicle from me and I will be driving around my new car. Spotless tweed.
My Volvo.
Yep. So that's new stuff going on in my life. How about y'all's? Riley's got
Well,
the Bezos, the Bill Gates juice.
I got the Bill Gates juice of the second variety, and it's kind of had me conked out today.
Yep, like it do.
I got up at I woke up at 7ish, and I'm like, I don't feel quite bad enough that I can't go to mass right now, so I'm gonna go. But then after mass, I just kind of sat down and slept for another hour and a half.
Mm-hmm. I had my second dose of the shot on it was like Wednesday of Holy Week. So Holy Thursday, I should have just worked from home or something, because I know a lot of places will like let you just have the day off, paid leave when you get your COVID shot. But I was like, I'll be able to truck through it. I'll be fine. And then I go to work. I'm like, I didn't bring any additional Tylenol with me, and I was like, no, it's Holy Week. That's be a sacrifice. But yeah, well, small price to pay compared to getting the disease. So
I have thus far not needed to get the 5G juice injected into me, but I don't know what the future may hold. I might be required to do that at some point, but until I'm required to, I don't currently see a need to get all shot up.
Yep.
But I don't know. We'll take that as it comes. I'm not like conspiracy theorizing. Like I'm not going to get it.
Right. It's
or
just
else.
like, do you need it? How
Yeah.
urgent is it for you personally? Yeah.
And also, how much more urgent is it for other people?
Yeah.
Because they are getting better with the whole supply-demand thing.
Yeah. I
Particularly-
mean,
at least
actually,
in the
in North
US
Dakota,
anyway.
they're actually running out of people who want to take it, so that's a little bit of an issue. But there's
And-
plenty of supply to go around.
One of them only lasts for a week in cold storage, so they gotta use those as soon as they get them.
Yeah, it's the Pfizer one. So they're
Yeah.
actually talking about, because now not only they're talking about vaccinating Canadians with the excess, so they can
Hey, can we come up there now?
use it up. Right? See, I think. I mean, I can imagine if you're somebody like our good friend Ben, his family has a lake cabin on the Canadian side of the border at Lake of the Woods. I don't think they've been able to get to it, have they?
Not that
Probably
I know.
not.
So that would
Canada closed its border, I think, pretty strong.
for a
and
year
yet,
now.
When America closes their borders, they yell at us I don't know what's up with that.
Yeah. Well, because a lot of our lumber in the United States comes from Canada, like especially like the Northwest.
Oh, sure.
So lumber prices have been super high for like a year now compared to what they normally are, just because like those trucks are stuck at the border waiting, or at least they were at some point. I'm not sure how that works exactly. But I know at the beginning of the pandemic, my brother-in-law was trying to build a house, but all their lumber was stuck on trucks waiting at the Canadian border. So I was reading this article about, so if anyone's looked at a map of Minnesota, there is a little sliver on the very north side of it due to a quote unquote, I've heard the story goes that little sliver that gave us a bunch of Lake of the Woods and a bit of land on the other side, but it can only be accessed by land through Canada. So you have to go through Canada to get to the U.S. And there's this couple who lives there, and once the ice melted, they couldn't get in or out to the mainland. So they're stuck in that little sliver in Minnesota. The story goes, though, that little sliver was because of a quote-unquote surveying error that just so happened to give Lake of the Woods to be mostly United States territory, which I think is kind of funny. So that's why Minnesota looks weird.
And Canada was just too nice to complain and point it out. It's like, sure, you can have it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Well, it's used to bears up there anyway.
sorry to bother you about that.
Oh, yeah. Good day. Good day.
No.
Anything new with you, Nathan?
No, just approaching finals and getting work done and stuff.
Nice.
Not a whole lot happens in my life at this stage.
Well, I mean, not
Maybe that'll change over the summer or whatever, but
who knows? Well, I mean, it will change over the summer because you'll have another brother-in-law.
oh, I will, won't I? That'll be that. I gotta.
Not a mutual one this time.
Not a mutual one this time. We won't be able to pull those shenanigans.
Although I will be able to say your sister's husband
Right.
and
But-
your sister's husband's wife. But that's about as far as it can go.
Right. And I feel like me not being able to respond would not, in
Yeah,
a similar
it would take
manner.
out the fun.
It takes out my half of the fun.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Oh, well.
But that'll be another month or so. No, month and a half.
Yeah.
It's the end.
It's
of
almost
April.
May.
This will be out in
May.
May.
It'll be May 3rd or something this will come out. So
something like that.
welcome to
Yep.
May. You made it.
Maybe we don't know yet. Maybe the world ends like in 45 minutes.
If so, welcome to heaven.
Do they have our podcast in heaven? I hope so.
I
I don't know.
don't know. I feel like it will
I
be kind
imagine
of
that-
preoccupied with the beatific vision a little bit.
A little bit.
least
Also,
that's
some of
the
the
hope.
stuff we say in here might get caught up in purgatory.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Yeah.
Like purgatory is heaven's customs.
Oh, yeah. I mean, kind of. Not really. But let's just hope the angels are Canadian.
I think they were made a little bit before Canada happened.
A little bit.
Oh, sorry about that, E.
Yeah, I suppose, Riley, you'll be spending a little bit of time in a place where I grew up this summer.
Yes.
And a place near where my dad works.
Yep.
And so we moved there because, yeah.
Close to Nathan, where he finished growing up, ish.
I don't know if I finished, and I don't know if I will.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But yes, I just got my summer assignment this week. So I'll be spending the summer at Holy Rosary Parish in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
That will
Close
be-
to where these two fellas grew up, so.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll be able to.
The
It'll be easy
nice
to visit.
library down the block, by the way.
Oh, well, I am looking forward to that.
Yeah. That's
I am a
went there
big
quite
library fan.
went down there quite a bit. It's got a weird. It's like it got a giant giant child in front of it now. Some statue somebody commissioned like 5 years ago, but
Month after month.
child after child, yeah.
There's just,
But yeah, no, it's a nice building and some nice little nooks and places to sit down. At least I don't know. I have fond memories of that place, so you'll enjoy that, I'm sure. And then the house across the street is where my first piano teacher lived. I think she's still there, but cool stuff. So yeah, what kind of stuff will they have you be doing out there? Anything?
No idea.
Guess you'll find out.
I'll find out. Another one of our seminarians, Larry, as we call him, will also be there for the summer. So
Okay.
Oh,
that should be fun.
that should be.
I'm familiar with Larry. Are the other guys going to be at the men's house in Moorhead?
That seems to be the case.
Gotcha.
John for sure will be, because he is doing CPE in Fargo this year,
Okay.
in the summer. So it's kind of the hospital chaplaincy training that you typically do after your second theology year.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And Josh, I'm not sure what he'll be doing, but he's in Moorhead as far as we know. So
Mhm. So it'll be within easy driving distance if you wish to convene for something or other.
yeah,
Like a podcast.
yeah, like a podcast.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
Yeah. We'll have to figure out exactly how that's going to work.
How,
Yeah.
Just depending on what I'm doing and when I have days off and stuff. I might just like come home every Sunday. and
Yeah.
Spend some time with my family and record a podcast. So
Yeah. So stay tuned for that. We will keep providing content. It just might well, the way we do it will be might be a little different.
I
We'll
don't
find
know
out.
if it'll reflect all that much on the listener end, because it's
Probably
just,
not.
aside from maybe the chemistry of us being in the physical space together.
Yeah, we might be in a different house. No, we will be in a different house.
Oh yeah,
this summer.
that too.
So the studio will move. Probably, I don't know, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 less monitors on the setup, but you won't be able to
Oh,
hear that.
that's quitter talk.
Yeah.
That's quitter talk. Yeah, you gotta get,
Monitors find a way. I'm a little addicted to this setup, not gonna lie. It's my mega desk, as it were.
you never use that like fifth monitor at the very, very left.
I've on a handful of occasions.
because you physically have to turn your neck just to actually look at it.
Yeah, it's not even in my peripheral vision hardly.
It's
See, in
just-
hindsight, I should have set this up so that the main monitor was in the center, and then it was evenly distributed on either side of it. But
well, in hindsight, you'd have to turn all the way around to see it.
yeah, yes, correct. Wrap around.
Should have thought about that in 2020.
I should have, but
In
2020
hindsight.
wasn't exactly conducive to thinking.
That was a hindsight joke.
We've gotten this far without a hindsight 2020 joke, but
I'll probably have a few more before the year's over.
I should have seen that coming.
But you know what they say about hindsight.
We're the Palladium Papists. I'm James.
I'm Nathan.
And I'm Riley.
What are we talking about today, Nathan?
Today, we are going to do an episode of Gregarious Games talking about the Ori and the Blind Forest and its sequel, Ori and the Will of the Wisps.
So yes, Gregarious Games, where we talk about video games.
We do an
We,
episode about the
we are
video.
gregarious with regard to games.
Indeed.
Yes, as the name would imply.
So, this duology of games, starring the main character Ori, these are 2D action platformy exploration Metroidvania type games because it's a Nathan episode. And the first one, Ori and the Blind Forest, was released in 2015 by Moon Studios and published by Xbox. So at the start of the game, you're introduced to the forest of Nibel, Nibel, and the great spirit tree at the center that's kind of the source of light and life in the forest.
Think Deku Tree.
Right.
Kinda.
if you've played Ocarina of Time.
Or any Zelda game with a Deku Tree.
Right, which is
What? Anyway.
Anyway, that's stop sidetracking, James.
Sorry,
I'm trying
I'll
to
keep my mouth
recap
shut.
the story.
I'll keep my mouth shut.
Okay, good. Anyway, so one day there's a great big thunder wind storm, and one of the leaves that becomes one of the spirit children guardian of the forest gets blown away. And the leaf falls in the forest somewhere and is found by a character named Naru. She's like, imagine if Baymax had fur, so like ridiculously cuddly.
Furry baby.
Exactly. So Naru finds the leaf that becomes Ori, this spirit of the forest. And Naru adopts Ori, and they live together happily, and they're a little family, and it's so great. Things are so nice. Some years pass, and one night, while they're just kind of living their life, the spirit tree lights the skies on fire with like a spirit fire thing to call out to Ori to return to it. But Naru hides Ori from the light, not wanting to give up her child. And so after that, some time passes and the forest starts to like die and decay, because after the day the skies lit up, a great big owl named Kuro attacked the spirit tree and tore the light from its branches and killed all the other guardian spirits. And so now the forest is air quotes blind, because the eyes of the forest are no
Roll
longer.
credits.
Yep, there you go. End of joke.
Ba-da-da. Directed by what's his face? Michael
Yes.
Wolf. Or anyway.
So more time passes as the forest slowly decays and dies, and there becomes less and less just resources. The water gets poisoned, and the food sources dry up. And so eventually, Naru dies of starvation after giving up the last of her food for Ori. And it's a big sad, because Naru was super nice. And so after that, Ori kind of just wanders aimlessly into the forest, kind of sad, and because his mom just died. And he finds himself at the base of the great Deku Tree, and the spirit tree uses the last of its light to heal Ori, and so Ori's now revived and does a little exploring, and finds a little light wisp fairy thing named Sane, who Sein. Yeah. So after meeting with Sane, she tells Ori that the only way to restore light to the forest is they need to first restore the elements of water, wind, and warmth. Because the waters are gross and it's cold and there's
But
no
not fire?
breath. Well, there's fire. It's okay. No, we'll
They're
get there.
plants. They don't like fire.
True.
Fire is part of nature. It's part of the whole cycle.
Not living things, though. Well, unless you want to get really... Anyway. Tangent.
It's a whole ecosystem thing. Anyway, so first they head to this, like the Ginzo tree, which is where the water comes from, like a giant tree. They get to it, and the gate to it is closed, and they can't get in because somebody stole the key. And the guy with the key is called Gumo. He's like imagine if a spider was a monkey, but not a spider monkey.
Okay.
He's like a fuzzball with spider
I
arms
have
and
a
legs,
lot
but
of
also
very scary images in my brain right now.
is a little bit like the scary images, but like less scary.
So if it was Smiley instead of wants to murder you.
Kind of. If it was more frightened of you than you were of it. Anyway, so he's scared and skittish and a little mischievous, so Ori chases him around and tries to get the key back. And during their little escapade, there's a bit of a rock slide that he gets trapped under. And so Ori, in his hopefulness and kindness, helps him out of the rock slide. And Gumo immediately returns the favor by giving him the key to the Ginzo tree. So now Ori and Sane can go into the tree and root out the corruption in there and let the waters flow freely again. There's just a little, they take out the purple goop and they escape sequence as the water rises, and it's super fun. And the waters are clean again. Yay. But then they're ambushed by Kuro, the giant owl, who was the reason the forest went blind. Mm-hmm. They get knocked off and fall down a long ways. But they're saved again by Gumo, who shows up again and helps Ori to safety, and then leaves. The next stop on their to-do list is the Forlorn Ruins, where the element of wind is. And the ruins are like what's left of a tribe species called the Gumon, which Gumo is the last of.
Oh.
Because they all died the day the forest went blind. And so that's the big sad, and Gumo is the big sad.
Rip.
Indeed. They were like kind of technologically advanced and used the light of the forest to power their machines. It's just kind of a whole thing. So they restored the element of wind, and Gumo kind of is inspired by Ori and Sane's actions and takes the last of the forest's light that they had saved in one of their like containers and takes it. While there's another escape sequence as the ruins fall apart, and Ori and Sane find themselves in Kuro's nest, where we discover the reason Kuro is so mad at the light of the forest. It's because the day that the skies lit up, it kind of burned up her nest a bit where her 3 baby chicks were. And so she was none too pleased. She began to hate the light and adopt the dark, and just murdered the tree, murdered the Scardian spirits, and all that's left in her nest is one lone egg. And so she's overreacting and acting to save her last child. So that's Revelation. So last stop on our docket is the Mount Horu, which is where the element of warmth is, and it's like the volcano area because it's a video game. They have to the fire area.
It's
right?
gotta be a volcano.
Gotta be a volcano. Meanwhile, Gumo took the light capsule and has used that to revive Naru. So Ori's mom is back from the dead. So now they're going to go up to the mountain and try and help Ori too. So Ori goes and restores the warmth of the forest and stuff, and it's all going to be good until Kuro shows up again. And there's a final standoff, and there's a whole bunch of fire because she's making a mess, and now the forest is on fire, and before Ori and Sane can return Sane to the spirit tree and restore the light, they get jumped by Kuro again. But this time, Naru has just caught up to them, and she goes to defend Ori, and this reminds Kuro of what she's fighting for, and turns out the fire is also not going to be good for her egg that's about to burn up in the tree. Mm-hmm. So Kuro takes Sane back to the spirit tree and restores the light at the cost of her own life. So she burns up in the explosion of spirit fire that restores the forest, but her baby's safe, and now Ori, Naru, and Gumo are kind of living in a family, and they adopt the egg of Kuro. And that is where we leave Ori and the Blind Forest and begin Ori and the Will of the Wisps, which came out in 2020. So the egg hatches, and it's a little baby owlet girl named Ku, and she has a crippled wing. Mm-hmm. And so as she grows up, she can't fly, and that's the big sad.
Mm-hmm.
But then Ori, one of the things you can get in one of the major upgrades in Ori and the Blind Forest is you steal one of Kuro's feathers and you can use it to glide around.
Uh-huh.
And so Ori still has that, and so he takes what's left of Ku's mother and uses it to help Ku regain her flight. So they strap it to her wing, and she can fly around, and it's all happy. And so Ori and Ku go off on a flying away adventure because they're just happy that she can fly.
Uh-huh.
And then they find themselves in a bit of a windy rainstorm, and the two of them get separated. Which is very reminiscent of the beginning of the first game. So Ori and Ku land in separate places in another forest called Niwen, Niwen, which is similar to in the first game how Nibel was all dying after its spirit tree died.
Uh-huh.
Niwen is even further gone because its tree has been dead for a lot longer.
Uh-huh.
For different reasons. So Ori does a little exploring, fights a big wolf, and meets up with a group of creatures known as the Moki, who are like lemur. Yep. They're not poorly drawn Mickey Mouses. They are more like lemurs if they were meerkats.
Oh.
And they're fictional
Interesting.
animals. They're fictional animals.
So like King Julian.
A little bit, but less, I like to move it, and more, hey, come meet our big frog spirit Papa fellow who's going to tell you what goes on around here.
Oh.
So Ori meets up with their guardian spirit Quolok, who's a giant mossy frog boy. And he's
Ribbit.
like, hey, I know where your bird sister friend landed, but she's on the other side of the waters, and they're all goopy and corrupted because the land's been dead for a long time. So how about you go to the water wheel and restore the waters? So you go. Before you go to the water to restore the waters, Quolok sends you with a wisp, which is part of the forest's old light.
Mm-hmm.
It is Seer, the voice of the forest. And so you and Seer go and restore the waters. You fight a big tentacle monster who was the source of the corruption. You run away in a cool escape sequence because Ori loves those and I love those and it's fun. And then the waters are clear. Cool. Now you can go to the Silent Woods where Ku landed. But it's also the stomping grounds of another greater, bigger, even meaner owl named Shriek.
Oh.
And Shriek's got this really imposing silhouette. She's got like her wings with like stompy
Spikes.
stone spike legs that she just kind of stomps around in. It's quite the image.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, so they go to the Silent Woods, and Ori goes, and he eventually finds Ku, and they have a little reunion, and it's nice. But they also need to find Kuro's feather so that they can, leave again because Ku still can't fly. So they do a little exploring. They are about to find the feather. They find it, and they're about to get it when Shriek shows up and gets all mad and slaps Ori around a bit. And Ku tries to defend Ori, but then Shriek kind of fatally wounds her and leaves them both for dead. And it's pretty sad because it's Baby Owl.
Uh-huh.
And so Ori takes Ku back to Quolok's little grotto that he lives in. And he's like, well, there's only one way we can save your friend there. And that's to gather the 5 remaining wisps of our forest's light. Because a long time ago, the tree that housed the light of this forest died in the way that trees do when they get really, really, really old.
Yep.
And in order to... The light had to split into 5 wisps and hide on the corners of the forest before it could be, found and put back together because otherwise the corruption of the darkness would, get to them and stuff.
Uh-huh.
So you've got to gather the memories, the heart, the strength, and the
Will?
What's the last one?
No.
The eyes, the memory, the strength, and the heart of the forest. Recombine that with the voice, who has been your companion up to this point, and then you can restore light to this forest. So the eyes of the forest are in like the depths of the woods in the really dark spider place. So you go to Deep Nest and you find the giant spider queen who's been corrupted by the decay of the darkness. You fight the spider and you free her from the decay by whacking her with a lightsaber. And you make her nice again, and you get the wisp.
Turns out lightsabers make you nice.
When they're made of spirit flame of forest light, apparently.
All right.
All right. So, the next one, you got to go get the strength of the forest in like the tropical lake area. And Quolok is there. He's like, hey, I'll help you find the strength of the forest because I know it's around here someplace.
And I'm a frog.
I'm a frog and it's water. So he finds the strength of the forest wisp, but he also finds the evil tentacle monster that was in the water in the first place, in the water wheel.
Uh-huh.
And that kind of grabs him and possesses him and makes him into a boss fight. A boss fight that makes you feel really bad for whacking nice frog boy.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's been such a nice frog boy up to this point.
Yep.
But you end up freeing him from the corruption, but the damage of the tentacle monster has kind of taken its toll. So he's all about to die, and he charges Ori with looking after the forest after he's gone. So he does the Master Oogway thing and fades away and leaves Ori to look after the Moki and the rest of the forest.
Yep.
Next, you go to the Snowy Mountain area to get the memory of the forest. There's a guardian spirit bear guy you talk to. There's an avalanche. It's a whole thing. And then after you get the strength of the forest back, or the memory is up there. Anyway, after you get that back, you talk to Bauer, who's the bear spirit who lives on the mountain, and he goes into Shriek's origin story because Shriek was born after the great willow of Newen died and the light left. You could say that Shriek was born in the darkness, molded by it.
Didn't see the light until he was almost a full-grown owl.
Pretty much, and when she did, she hated it. So she was born with the creepy, stumpy stone wing defect, and it freaked people out. So she was kind of rejected by all the other
outcasts.
owls, and so she kind of just lived alone in the wastelands, in the darkness, just kind of by herself, hating anyone and anything that invaded and was brought light. So it's this whole thing. So after you learn about that, you go to the desert area. There's a little temple in the desert area, and you go in there to get the heart of the forest. On your way in, there's like prophecy inscribed on the wall about how after the spirit tree dies, a new one will come, a new guardian spirit will come to take its place and restore the light. So after you learn that, there's an escape sequence for the giant worm. And that's fun.
Yep.
And then now you have all the Dragon Balls assembled, and you can go to the Spirit Tree to try and restore the remains of the Spirit Willow and restore the light.
The Will of the Wisps?
No, the Willow of the Will of the Wisps.
I have one right here. Chaos Control. Anyway,
so yeah, so you go to the Spirit Willow and try to restore the light, but the willow doesn't revive and can't hold the light anymore. So it's like we need a new spirit tree. If only there was some descendant of a spirit tree here to be reborn as the new guardian tree. And Ori's like, okay, I can link myself to the fire and end the age of darkness. But then Shriek shows up. There's a final boss encounter with Shriek, but after that, Ori manages to sear the wisp into him and be reborn as the new tree. And it's all cool. And after he restores life to the forest, he also restores life to Ku, so Ku's okay. And then Naru and Gumo show up in the forest, and they discover the tree, and they all kind of live happily ever after and watch over the new forest, and the cycle begins anew. And Shriek ultimately rejects the light, rejects any kind of forgiveness or redemption, and slinks away in the shadows to never be heard from again because she can't bring herself to trust or love anybody.
Huh.
So yeah.
So that is the Ori.
That is the general story of the Ori duology.
So Nathan, what did you like about Ori?
Well, they are two games from my favorite genre.
That's
right. I love the
platformers.
I love the exploration. I love the platforminess. And the cool thing about these games in particular is Ori's movement is so like fluid and flowing. It's like there's like one move where you can grab enemies and obstacles and like use them to launch off in directions, so you can like spend entire minutes without hitting the ground.
Uh-huh.
You can just kind of flow through the forest. You kind of the more upgrades you get, the more you become one with the forest.
Yep.
And it's like, ooh,
The game seems to have an emphasis on smooth, fluid movement and
so much so
camera
that you
movement.
can clear entire areas before the game has time to load the next one.
Oh wow.
So yeah. So that's one of the main things. It's very platforming heavy, and so it's the flowiness of the platforming is just so kind of fun to get into.
Sure.
It's almost zen if you get to the red zone.
Yeah.
Another little thing I wanted to bring up is how you get the upgrades. Is like all these various little upgrades you get in any Metroidvania platformer. They help you get to new areas by unlocking the new movement options and new keys to unlock doors. You get them from little spirit trees that grew in the places where previous guardian spirits died.
Mm-hmm.
So you're kind of growing stronger from the sacrifice of those who've come before you. So each of the forest spirits, so their speciality was that one movement option you get from them.
Mm-hmm.
And so you kind of draw strength from that, which is kind of a neat little bit. In just kind of a segment of Will of the Wisps I glossed over in the story segment because it isn't important there. But there's an area called the Wellspring Glades, which is this little refugee camp where some of the Moki and a couple of other creatures just kind of have set up
It's
camp.
kind of a little town, yeah.
Kind of a little town, but there's one guy who's like a builder guy, and there's like a collectible you get that you can trade with him for him to start like opening up the town more and building more houses and nicer houses and cleaning out the bad stuff.
Uh-huh.
And there's another character in there who's a gardener, and you find like rare seeds on your journey. And so if you bring them back to him, he'll plant the seeds and kind of grow a new garden. So over the course of the game, if you do these side quests, the town just kind of builds up and comes to life. Like Ori is taking charge and taking ownership of the forest and its well-being.
Uh-huh.
And investing in its people well before he properly adopts them and becomes the spirit tree of Newen.
Uh-huh.
So that little side quest of Ori just helping
And
foster
taking care of people, yeah.
and take care of the people that live in this forest. That's a really cool little side quest that happens.
Sure.
And it feels like you're both growing at the same rate. Also, these games have a lot of really cool sequences. Like, there's a lot of escape sequences, and I love them because they're difficult platforming with a swelling orchestra behind them. But one of my favorite bits is after you find Ku initially, and you're looking for the feather in Shriek's homeland.
Mm-hmm.
But before Shriek attacks you guys and nearly kills Ku, it's you. Ori and Ku have like teamed up. So Ori is riding on Ku's back, and Ku's running around. And Ku can glide but not fly, so it's like a little tutorial for when you get the feather back and you can glide in the game.
Uh-huh.
But also it's kind of in gameplay reflecting the bond between Ori and Ku,
Mm-hmm.
where they're very much in sync with each other. They work together to like fight the guys and solve the puzzles and stuff. So you get this little gameplay bubble with Ori and Ku working together right before the moment Shriek kills Ku, so that emotional beat hits harder because you just spent the last 15 minutes actually bonding with this character through gameplay. So it's a really great little accent to the storytelling through the gameplay there.
Yeah.
So those are a couple of the bits I like about the game that I think are cool.
Sure.
Also just generally fun games.
Yeah, my comments about the game from looking over my shoulder every so often is I'll get to that once we hit the beauty segment, but
there's a lot to talk about in the beauty segment.
that there
because
is. Any comments, Riley? Did you have any experience with these?
I've never played it nor seen it played. Like with any kind of substantial. I think I might have like seen an occasional clip on the front page of Twitch or whatever, but I really like kind of this depth first approach to the thematic material,
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
where it takes this one idea and really runs with it to construct kind of the aesthetics and the environment. It's just like, I'm gonna make a game about forest, and then
Mhm.
you just really dive into that.
The
I
different
really
facets of the forest, yeah.
I like when, you know, video games, TV shows, whatever, use that kind of concept instead of kind of doing a breadth first, where they try to put their fingers into everything,
Uh-huh.
because it ends up feeling kind of shallow when you do that.
Mhm.
So it's like, depth coming from like, let's look at, let's dive a little deeper into this concept. Let's dive a little deeper instead of like, so what's another thing we could slap onto here?
Right.
Right, exactly.
And even it leaks into the theming of the story, right? Because there's a lot of death and rebirth, a lot of decay and
Well, like you have
life,
these
a lot of light and dark.
initial things like, okay, so the forest is in trouble. Why is that? And so the closer and closer you get to your goal, the more and more you discover, the illness that's plaguing the forest and the
But
cause of it
also,
and
the
different
better
things like
the forest gets, the better Ori gets.
that. Uh-huh.
Like, once you clear the waters, you can swim through the water. And
You feel the renewal of the forest represented by your
by
character.
the growth of the character, who is
Yeah.
a forest spirit that kind of represents the health of the forest.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, it takes that idea and really runs with it in a way that just kind of explores that facet as fully as it can.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
So, I guess if I don't have any other comments, I suppose we can start with the transcendental analysis.
I suppose we can.
So, truth. What is true in the Ori games?
Well, in the first one, Ori's light kind of represents hope and his kindness to characters like Gumo and Kuro at the end. They are moved by and inspired by that light, the hope, the kindness, and that kindness begets kindness,
Uh-huh.
and sacrifice begets sacrifice.
Yep.
There are some people who are so hardened that they won't respond, which is unfortunate, but Shriek was offered redemption several times in the story, but rejected it every time, not thinking that she wanted it or needed it.
Yep.
But so yeah, I think there's that's one of the things about it.
Oh, and there's for Catholics that concept of light. We bring the light of Christ to others by um, keeping that light alive through our cooperation with grace, and then we bring that to other people and pass that on to them. It's sort of like this concept. One of my favorite pieces of like liturgical symbology is, if that's a word, at the Easter Vigil, where we have the light of Christ, which is the Easter candle, which is lit from the flame, and then all of the congregation will like have the smaller candles that light from the flame, and then pass the flame along, one to the next person, and so on. So, which really is a really powerful physical way of like illustrating that concept, the light of Christ carrying that to others. So it's interesting how like you see that little snippet of a sort of a similar kind of illustration of passing on.
And it's interesting that the first game is called Ori and the Blind Forest because it's blind because it lives in darkness.
Yep.
But also light can be blinding for those who live in darkness and don't want to adjust to it.
Yep.
So the imagery of light and darkness is interesting. I think it's a little weird that it's the light of the forest that kills Kuro's like owlets.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of a weird thing for it. I mean,
it seems like this game takes a lot of cues from like Eastern spirituality.
A little bit. I mean, even visually, it's very Studio Ghibli. So,
but like, and I think Eastern spirituality has more of an emphasis on like light and dark being in balance with each other.
Yeah, there's an ontological dualism present, which is not something that we generally maintain in the Christian tradition.
And ultimately, at the end of these games, it's the light of the forest that needs to prevail. So the light is ultimately the good force in the forest.
Yep.
It's it's the source of life. It's the source of goodness. And the darkness corrupts. It turns people away from it.
Sucks the life out of. Goodness. What is good in the Ori games?
Well, I guess the whole building a town side quest, I feel like, is one of the main like good points in the second one. There's like not many characters in the first one.
Yeah.
There's just like the core people that I named. But whereas in the second one there's like a whole bunch more.
Although between the two games, self-sacrifice is very present.
Oh, absolutely.
And redemption to a degree.
From Kuro's sacrifice at the end of the first one to Ori's sacrifice at the end of the second one. I feel like,
and then like adopting Ku and raising her, even though it's like sort of the child of your nemesis, like that sort of thing.
Yeah. It's interesting how the two games kind of reflect each other in the story because there's a sacrifice at the end of both of them.
Yep.
They both begin with an adoption where Ori's adopted by Naru and they have a family, but then at the beginning of the second one, Ku's adopted by Ori and Naru and Gumo, and they're this whole family unit. Yeah. So there's a lot of that. There's also in Will of the Wisps a kind of a B plot where Naru and Gumo try and voyage out to the other forest, but it's kind of a background thing that happens every couple of cutscenes.
Oh, sure.
But they're like concerned for them, and so they go out searching for their two lost children.
Makes sense. Beauty. Now we get into beauty.
I think beauty is where these games truly excel. Because these games are they're gorgeous.
Yeah. It's a 2D platform, but a lot of the assets and everything is 3D, and there's a lot of like depth, like of field, and just like this, the environment designs, animation is really good.
A lot of like
the score is phenomenal.
Oh, heck yeah. But yeah, a lot of the visuals are very, very natural and very naturey and very, and in the lighting, it's very,
there's a very whimsical sort of charm to the forest from what I was able to see.
Oh, yeah. And also, like, all the set pieces are accompanied by these really uplifting, surging, like, orchestral pieces. And you're running away from, like, a tentacle spider monster, and you're in a water wheel, and there's water rushing at you, and you gotta escape, but this swelling orchestra is making you feel all the feels, and it's kind of intense, but it's kind of great.
Yeah. And then like the cinematic like storytelling cutscenes are pretty
There's
powerful too. It's like it had the feeling of like you're playing a Pixar short at times.
yeah, it kind that's kind of what it feels like.
All of the storytelling was told through the music and the
And a
actions
little
of the
bit of
characters.
narration here and there.
True. In
And
gibberish.
actually, right, but there was also like text boxes.
Right.
And a cool thing about the second one actually is the first one was narrated by the spirit tree, who was like the day that the forest went blind, Ori went on his adventure. In the second one, there's a similar narrator, but it's revealed at the end that Spirit Tree Ori was telling the story
Yep.
of how Newen got its new guardian. So it's like when that twist was revealed, I that was cool.
Uh-huh.
I thought that was really cool.
So yeah. Very good stuff.
So, yeah,
very
these-
aesthetically pleasing game.
Yeah,
And like very I like to use this word like, seamless, but like the character interactions with the environment is very
very, very naturally flowed.
yeah.
I would recommend these if you are at all inclined to enjoy 2D platformers.
Mm-hmm.
Because as Metroidvanias go, they're pretty straightforward. They give you a pretty clear path forward for the first one. And the second one, there's a little non-linearity because you can get the wisps in any order, but even then it's like...
Almost Hollow Knight-ish at times.
A little bit, but not nearly as difficult or hard to navigate.
Yeah.
So a little more noob-friendly.
Yeah.
Although it does borrow a lot of the... It borrows like the charm system and like some of the combat cues and like the whole NPC thing from Hollow Knight, which is interesting.
Aesthetically quite different games. Because Hollow Knight has like this more hand-drawn, cel-shaded look, and then Ori's
very
more like a 3D painting almost. Not like
you could take
brush strokes, but it's like got that sort of feel to it.
you
Like,
could take any like frame of that game and hang it up on the wall, and it'd just be gorgeous.
mm-hmm.
So anyway, I think that pretty much concludes talking about beauty, unless there's anything to add.
Unity.
Well, they were made in the Unity game engine.
That's true. Unity.
Unity. No.
Rick James. Anyway.
But it's like Riley said earlier with the forest theming, and I feel like it's very unified in that
Yeah.
idea.
It holds it stays true to that concept all the way through and doesn't deviate.
Right. From the mechanics and the platforminess that make you feel like you're becoming more one with the forest and stronger as the forest becomes stronger,
Yep.
to the themes of cycles of decay and rebirth and light and dark and night and day sort of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and to the themes of the story, to the visuals and aesthetics. It's all very, very based on this idea of a forest. And what kind of a story can we tell using that as our setting?
Mm-hmm.
Which is really interesting because Moon Studios, the people that made this game, are a development team that doesn't have a singular office space. It's a team that's like scattered to the winds all over the four corners of the globe.
It's like the Gorillas of video game development.
Kind of something like that. But it's like there's no central office. They're located all over the place, and it's kind of it was neat when I discovered that was a thing about them.
And yet they were still able to carry through like this incredible like vision for
With the Microsoft money,
right.
like, it's got picked up by Xbox, so it's Xbox's version of an exclusive.
Which you don't hear of a whole lot. Of Xbox and platformer isn't really a connection you'd naturally draw in your head, but
Well, it's also on Steam and Switch, so it can't
Right,
really be called an exclusive. But
Right.
So no, it's one of those games that Xbox saw the indie studio and was like, hey, we'll fund you. They did that with Cuphead too, and a couple others.
oh yeah, some really unique, but artistically
So yeah, it's cool that a development team that doesn't have a central office or anything managed to put together something so cohesive and so great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Good stuff. Well, I guess with that,
Well,
do we have anything else? Any other comments, boys?
any other discussion? Any other discussion?
Any discussion? Okay. Motion to end the podcast. Thanks for listening
so
to the
move.
Palladium Papist. You can listen to us on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Palapapist. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or complaints, or suggestions for future episodes, email us at palladiumpapist@gmail.com. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you again next week. Goodbye.
Bye.